So, welcome back. This is part 2 of social Darwinism. I figured you were probably getting bored with my voice, so I thought I'd cut it off and start again. So, part 2. We were talking about Andrew Carnegie and business strategy. So, vertical integration. So, think of a vertical line, so going up and down, and you're going to control from the very beginning the first small pieces of any kind of manufacturing to the very end. So, whatever you're doing for the steel industry, for example, they've got suppliers, you've got the trucking company, you've got the mines, you've got all of those things were bought by Andrew Carnegie in hopes of creating a monopoly, and it worked to his favor. So a graphic of that, this is a lovely cell phone picture I took from our textbook. Vertical integration. So again, there's our vertical line going from the very top all the way to the bottom, which is creating our giant steel company here. But you purchase, Andrew Carnegie would purchase everything, every piece, the red, the blue, and the green. So the ore deposits, the iron mines, he would purchase the shipping company, he would purchase the railroads, he would purchase the railroad car companies, and then he would purchase the steel mills so that he had absolute control of all of the pieces that went into making a giant steel company. So that is vertical integration. He's integrating all of the different resources that are necessary to create steel. The second thing that was a new strategy that worked for people is horizontal consolidation. So horizontal, think of the horizon. It's a long flat line. And what you would do there is merge or purchase competing companies. So if we go back to the jeans example, if I'm going to try and become a monopoly of jean producers, then I can purchase, the Gap and Wrangler and, I don't even know jean companies. Gerbeau, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're still popular, or Lee, and so you would purchase all of these different corporations, and then you would have the opportunity to create all of the jeans, and you would be the one distributing the jeans, so you would have control over the price. So ultimately, between horizontal consolidation and vertical integration, the idea was to become a monopoly. Okay, here's a graphic, another cell phone picture, of horizontal consolidation as it looks. So independent steel producers, or just think of those 3 arrows on the left there as our independent blue jean companies, or whatever you're talking about, they all merge together. So someone purchases the competing companies in the same industry, so blue jeans or steel or whatever, and you would create a giant steel company. So one of 2 ways is how people would utilize their skill in the business world to become a monopoly. Okay? All right. Now, by 1901, Andrew Carnegie was producing 80% of the steel in the United States. So he went from a little Scottish immigrant to the richest man in the country. Pretty awesome. Definitely a rags to riches story, right? Oprah's one of the richest people in the country. Sarah Jessica Parker, we talked about Kobe Bryant, all of these different people. What kind of skills did it take? Andrew Carnegie relied on competition because he encouraged his people to make the best goods, and so people would want his goods. If you're competing with other ice cream producers and your ice cream tastes like dog poop, you're not going to have people purchasing your ice cream. So he encouraged people to think of new ways to develop more efficiency and new processes, and always rewarded people for their innovation and the thought that went into making his company more productive. Now, this idea kind of falls under the big umbrella of what we're talking about today, which is the idea of social Darwinism. His success, Carnegie's success specifically, was explained by hard work, investment, and improved business practices. He knew exactly how much it cost for every single part of the process. He knew how to invest his money in good technology and people that had the brains and the skills to be able to do what it was that he needed done. And he worked his tail off. He worked his tail off. So all of these things are going to create this kind of survival of the fittest atmosphere. If he's creating the best product and he has the best quality stuff, and he encourages people to lower their prices and see if people still want it, he's going to come out. Excuse me. I just yawned. That's embarrassing. he's going to come out on top. So Darwin, survival of the fittest, one of our scientists, social Darwinism is survival of the fittest in the business world. Okay? All right. So free competition in the marketplace would ensure this survival of the fittest. So this free competition that they could engage in at Andrew Carnegie's company would make sure that they would be the fittest ones to survive. So because they had better quality product and because he had, people with the best knowledge levels working on these things, he was the fittest. Social Darwinism also supports the idea of individual responsibility. If you aren't contributing and making things more efficient and more productive, we have no need for you. If you aren't working your hardest to be able to make it a more effective company, thank you very much for playing. We're done. So he also encouraged people to be individually responsible and compete against one another to make sure that he had the best people working for him. Which goes in line with, something that we talked about last semester, this idea that working hard is going to equal success. God wants you to work hard, that's why you work hard. So the Protestants who came and settled our country knew that a strong work ethic was going to be the success for the rest of their country. So it appealed to a lot of Americans, this idea that hard work is going to be able to, set you free, or hard work will allow you to be successful and have this opportunity to become an Andrew Carnegie. So there was a lot of things that was going on surrounding the idea of this rags to riches in society. So if you weren't rich, you were seen as poor. Well, obviously, if you weren't rich, you were poor. Duh. But if you were poor, you were seen as lazy or inferior, and you must deserve the fact that you're poor because that's how you acted. You acted lazy, you didn't work hard, therefore you shouldn't be wealthy and shouldn't be well-to-do. So a lot of this was surrounding how society was developing at the time and with what was happening in terms of business practices and moving forward. So people also started to buy into this idea and write stories about rags to riches incidents. So your assignment, which I'm going to give you in class on Friday, hopefully if I remember, I hope I do, is to read a story by Horatio Alger. And he writes rags to riches ideas modeled after the successes that were Andrew Carnegie. So anyone who's reading these stories would be able to have hope and say, yes, I can do this too. This is great. So there was a kind of a surge in this writing about rags to riches and Andrew Carnegie type situations. So there was a lot of popular literature, mostly written by Horatio Alger, about how people had lowly beginnings or humble beginnings, and you had good virtue and a good work ethic, so you would equal, a good fortune. You would end up with a good fortune and a good lot in life. So, social Darwinism, survival of the fittest in the business world, Andrew Carnegie, exemplary figure for any number of different reasons, ended up being a monopoly, but because of a lot of different areas that he really made more effective in his life. Okay.